Hello. Welcome back. My name is Jessica, and this is J. Gilly Tarot. You may book a personal reading with me at any time at jgilly.com. That's JGILLY.com. And it really helps to support the channel, me, my business. So if you're ever um, wanting a reading, visit my website. You can chat directly if you have any questions about how the readings go, what you want to focus on. You may do so on my website if you hit the button book a session and then click on chat with me. All right, so let's get into it. So this last week has been a very transformative week. I mean, like the whole last year, if I'm honest, has been, but in particular the last week there's been a huge shift energetically in the collective. I can feel it. There's a lot more fear. There's a lot of like static energy, like where you can feel the potentiality of all the possibilities in future timelines kind of sticking in the air, just suspended. And an intermingling of fear, I would say, from the collective about it's almost like holding their breath for what's to come. And I started walking every day, and I just really felt called to go outside for longer despite the terrible mosquitoes and to kind of get moving more in my meditation out in nature. Like I already do that, but like I'll set aside private time meditative wise, like just to sit. And my body was calling for something different for my meditations, like an open eye, moving, seeing meditation. And for what reason, I wasn't sure, but I was also kind of being moved in such a way that, like, frustrated with myself and irritable, but also wanting to push forward through any stagnation in my body, but also like mentally, like I wasn't getting where I needed to go and I could feel a block. I could feel like a stagnation. And it was like, I don't know if you guys are the same, but I get really annoyed, super annoyed. And that energy of wanting to move forward can quickly move stale into negativity or frustration. And so I'm walking around and I'm going like working out this like aggressive energy that's like kind of pinned up, and I'm walking around and I'm walking around. And in the park, this little plaque catches my eye, and I can immediately feel my guides, my spirit team. They're amazing. I will say I am the stubborn one. They will patiently wait for me to kind of get it if I'm working through something and being stubborn, or they kinda just, like, lovingly nudge constantly. So, I'm walking and I kinda stumble upon this, plaque that's in the garden, and it says, "Owned by 4th Quarter Wealth Management." And then I hear my guide, my life guide, which her name is Anna Marie, um, I hear my life guide say, "This is the final stretch. This is the last part of your 4 squares in balance that you need to master in order to move forward, to ascend to your next graduation." And I was like, "Of course." So there must be some type of like I can easily manifest what I need, no problem, but I definitely feel that there's some type of past life money block, whether it's like I associate it with evil. I've brought that a little bit into this. lifetime where it's kind of like maybe in my family, it's been used as leverage, it's been used as power. It just sometimes has a negative connotation to it. Like, I don't like, I take pride in the fact that I don't care about it. People that are overly obsessed with it and run their entire life off of it, where their bank account is, the itemizations of their money, if it dictates their own happiness, that kind of energy literally repels me. Those type of people have a heavy energy, and everything I find that they dictate in their life is the state of their money. Basically, that is the deciding factor. And so I'm rattling around in my mind. Yeah, okay, let's get enthusiastic about this instead of immediately want to repel it. Like, they're right. They're right. What if I can look at it from the opposite end of the coin as one of my tools? And as with everything in life, a scalpel can be used as a tool to heal, but also to kill, right? That's with everything in life. The intention behind how you use the tool is everything. Everything. It is, the flip, the switch between light and dark. It is the flip and the switch between love and evil. It is the flip and the switch between um, the rise and your fall, right? So, with that being said, I was walking and meditating with my eyes open, and I got home and immediately wrote a bunch of notes that were channeled from my guides. And here we go. So, enthusiasm is the power that sells and multiplies. It is the sound of victory that has already begun. The half hearted human is one that has already been defeated. Be so radiant with enthusiasm that it romances the mundane into the very majestic. Build and dream with practicality of your creative genius. Enthusiasm beautifies life and births your vision and imagery into the natural 3D world. Hope is the bridge between faith and patience, but spiritual endurance is a conviction of hope, despite surrounded by darkness. Fear is faith corrupted. Jealousy is love poisoned. Hatred is love inverted. Anger is enthusiasm misdirected. Revenge is misused courage. Greed is warped desire. Transmutation of hardship and darkness is the alchemy of wealth and health. When fear strikes, turn it into enthusiasm. When envy bites, turn it into admiration. Don't kill passion, only serve to govern it. The person that can hold faith and hope while surrounded by darkness owns their true power as well as their light. The heart and head must move in one rhythm, in totality. Mastering your emotion directs its magnetism. It commands the very forces of heaven and earth here. Intentional emotion is the direction of faith. Faith is conducted by the power of self-mastery. And thus, fortune inevitably flows to you with great speed if your thoughts, decisions, and will are melded together by purpose. Melded? Is that a new word I just made up? Welded? Self-belief is what stands between the leader and the worker slave. The leader directs as the crowd just drifts. Courage acts while the coward calculates. Weaving such principles throughout our matrix obstacles becomes the very rule that commands the law of magic and our environment. So that's a lot there. And it kind of like breaks it down bit by bit in almost like values and measures kind of way with a romantic, poetic undertone, that inspires, which is how Anna Marie, my guide, always talks. um, so yeah, transmutation and being the governor of your emotions, you know, is paramount in both wealth and health. And that's really what I wanted to kind of tackle today. I myself am working through that and kind of etching and mastering and editing and chiseling away at the things that maybe were trial and errors. But one thing that I would say I came into this world very strong with is enthusiasm, a sense of self belief when no one else was going down that road. I was sticking to it with sheer stubbornness. So my stubbornness definitely works in my favor time and again. Um, I've rebuilt many times and it gets faster each time, you know, with what I've learned. I build upon the last level I was at, and it was confirmation for me that even though I'm feeling frustrated, I'm feeling a stickiness in the air, I'm feeling this electricity of fear from the collective, that I still cocoon myself into that liquefied state of the caterpillar right before the transformation into the butterfly. And going inward is almost necessary to listen to the higher self's voice, the true essence, your unique signature, um, to emit that unique signature driven by purpose here in this physical realm. Um, we all fall off of the wagon with the positivity or the enthusiasm. But hope and faith are what keep us getting back up and taking the ride. It is the steady movement and pace forward with a plan, with patience, um, and a vision that we hold very strong to where it almost collapses the travel time in between, right? And so I got a new deck, by the way. I got the Animal Spirit Guidebook. The energy on this deck is like just amazing, and the artistry um, depicted on each card. I pulled before I sat down the golden egg, which is like so spot on. It is the hatching, like whenever a baby chick is hatching, if you were to zoom in and focus in like really close, it looks like demolition, but it's actually, if you zoom out, rebirth, new life. And this card is associated with the fourth chakra, nestled within the heart. A lot of people right now um, self protect the heart out of fear, maybe trauma, being used by others. Um, this has been a collective traumatization almost, where the government and the people in power, the deletes, I like to call them, want to make us almost mechanical worker bees. They don't want us to use our abilities to create because then they use their fuel, their energy power supply. And so it's necessary to take time to meditate, to shut out the outside noise, electronic smog, in order to hear the whispers of the soul's purpose or the feelings of the soul's purpose. Our bodies are antennas, they will know which way to go before we consciously or mentally understand its logic. Later in hindsight, we will. But it's often kind of like how animals can feel a tsunami before it hits. There's a sixth sense, an instinctual knowing to self-protect. And the people in power or are banking quite literally on the fact that you're so traumatized and so broken, distracted that you won't wise up and call back your power to pull yourself up through the ranks, the spiritual ranks. And, it's really sad, you know what I mean? But it's also, on the other side of the token, very liberating and very empowering. Once you understand, you can blast through all those doors of fear into alignment. Suddenly, you're kind of like whack-a-moling health scares away, poverty mindset scares away, just like blowing through the tests and the exams, the spiritual exams with spiritual endurance. And it gets quicker. You become more agile. You jump higher. You leap longer. Um, you can make active, decisive decisions in the blink of an eye and know that they're right. And that comes with truly trusting yourself, truly self-believing in your divine purpose. And so, yeah, so I've taken a really big approach on how I'm reworking and remapping my relationship with money. I'm looking at it through a spiritual eye because everything can be understood through spiritual truths in this matrix. When there is a truth, a spiritual truth, you can superimpose it on any concept in this 3D realm, and it still rings true. It still follows the pattern of truth. And that's kind of with everything, you can start small and just with a simple synchronicity. Um, you can pull that thread of the sweater and see where it takes you. What messages, what downloads, what is it telling you? What is it mirroring back to you? Is it mirroring back to you that you're in your ego, that you're attracting through the ego, through fear, through a lack mindset, through negativity, fear, jealousy, hatred, anger? Because it's all true, right? What we're pulling in, it's all true. It's all a reflection of us and our mindset. But what do we desire to be true? What do we desire to be our highest timeline? That is up to you. So there's a little bit of like this stagnation in the air that I'm feeling so much that it's more tied to economic, I would say, like a huge shift in our very financial system and foundation of it that the people that maybe didn't have a plan or didn't execute, didn't adapt, didn't evolve, people that are still stuck in old traumas and old ways and are not evolving, um, is that the sticky energy I'm feeling? Perhaps. Perhaps. Is it the people in power that are refusing to evolve and change with the times? I'd say probably, yeah. And so this is also equally connected to health. There's always gonna be something that we're working through here, and that's part of the Earth School. There's a fear at every turn. There is a big bad wolf that the Matrix says, "Oh, wait a minute, speed bump, alert, alert. You gotta be worried about this. Oh, shame on you. Punish you for forgetting about this umpteenth, responsibility you should have been, carrying or addressing or keeping up with maintaining." But there's so much within our daily lives on top of the emotional trauma we have all endured that you start to see health decline and things to slip when you realize I need to address my emotional trauma. That is the inner child I've been neglecting the most. And I find in my own life that health and finances are also very much a reflection of where the organization of my mental state is. See, in my paradigm, God is very simple. It kind of feels like very effortless to get the bang out the responsibilities and the homework, so to speak, that you got to do for class the next day. And when it becomes like you're walking through mud and that everything is a negative complaint, when it feels like an uphill battle, like everything's working against you, when it starts to feel like a comparison to others and their success, when it starts to feel burdensome on your shoulders, like weighing actually heavy, like you can actually feel the weather vane of it all sitting on your shoulders and swaying you from side to side, kind of indecisive and unsure of where to go. That's where the devil's in the details. So God is simple. The devil's in the details. I'd like to say, you know, um, that's just my personal opinion. The God is in the inner child. I just heard in the inner child, the play and the flow of life that is truly present in the here and the now and worries about homework and tests later. Trust that they will be ready for it when the time arises. And that's the same thing here with finances and health in particular. Again, there's a huge shift I feel collectively coming, a huge shift in the healthcare system where they're going to start to see, oh, we're not, they're not buying what we're selling right now. They're realizing that insurance is a scam, that they're tightening the belt and dropping coverage and payments. And it's the risk no longer um, the reward doesn't any longer compete with the risk. So, like, the risk is far safer in educating yourself about home remedies, alternative apothecaries, um, herbal remedies, preventative care, eating for a certain lifestyle, and treating it yourself through research and through the more awakened practitioners. And you'll see that all the multimillionaires and corporate, CEOs, I mean, most of them go to, you know, DOs, naturopaths, and people that are experts in apothecary. There's a reason for that. The system is designed to keep us sick and stuck financially dependent on it. So, um, yeah, I mean, that was one of the things I was rattling around. I was like, "How is it that I have been a reader for, like, some of these crazy top CEO companies, the VP of sales, and all these people, these huge companies, multi-million dollar companies will, on the side, come to me for bookings and readings. They trust my guidance, but yet here I am just kinda, like, floating along down the river of life and not really using my gifts and spiritual energy to create that current of flow, that abundance constantly. And that's how you know there's a block or there's some type of rustiness in the moat, in the flow pipes. And so, creative genius partnered with a plan of execution and decisive action is the key. I I feel that's the key to unlocking those doors and blasting through those pockets of fear that the matrix has intentionally set on our course. And it's for the people with a spiritual endurance and a spiritual eye of self-improvement, not self-sabotage. It's constantly redirecting emotion as fuel for their engine, their fuel for their Merkaba to ascend. And the people at the top understand this, right? They understand the magic of it, but they still operate from a sense of evil and self propriety. And that's the difference between someone who's an elite, a delete, and someone that's working for the greater good of all. And this is where I feel stickiness, where there's about to be a huge shift. There's about to be a huge shift in the Federal Reserve, the bank. There's about to be a huge shift in power, and they're still trying to control it. That's why there's this stickiness back and forth. There's two sides to the coin. But when we're flip flopping from one extreme end to the other, like a pendulum, that almost reads as indecisiveness. It doesn't come through as decisive, right? And so that energy kind of just stays. Where will it land? Heads or tails, heads or tails, heads or tails. But through the heart posture, the heart portal, through that frequency, we are able to rise to a higher timeline and instantly shift our emotion into a magnetism a flow, a current, a conductivity that brings it straight to you, both wealth and health. Health, in my opinion, is our birthright. Our spiritual inheritance is our health. It's our genetic coding that we can literally take up and take down as needed. It's the self-belief, the activation of the heart portal, the performance of heart posture towards your purpose that welds all of that together, that creates the journey, the path. You're serving humanity, being of service. And it must be done for the greater good of all. 333, as I'm saying that. Confirmation. So, you know, many are chosen, not all are answering the call. And a big block to those chosen ones, sometimes, more oftentimes, I would say, is trying to people please and work around the financial needs of society. That's a constant block. And personally with me, it's a past life block as well. Like, oh my gosh, so many times to the point where like I just don't even care about it. Like when I need it, money's there, but I'm so over it. And my guides, like they always do, true to form, they were like, nope, you need to, this is the home stretch, the last quarter. You need to get to work. Nope, we're not going to sleep on this today. You need to answer the call. So begrudgingly, I've been watching a lot of like informative videos on what's going on with the Clarity Act, which I find fascinating. I just look at to make it more interesting and like not make my eyes glaze over. I see the synchronicities in the act names with spirituality. And that's how you can do everything in life, even health, to make it more fun. So, the anatomy and physiology are the map to the cosmos, in my opinion. And so health, it was never a tough thing for me to study. It was like figuring out the Rubik's Cube. But everything in this matrix can be like that if you look at it from a spiritual eye. The way that they've coded and termed things, named things, the nomenclature, the etymology will always reveal the true nature of what it represents in the matrix. It's so encoded, even by numbers with gematria. It's like the layers just keep going on and on. They're multidimensional. Once you think you've got one dimension figured out, the next one appears, and you see entirely a new stack of insight on top of the last level you mastered. So even when we die, we're still improving. We still learn. That's what I learned from the spirit realm as a medium, that the spirit, as they climb in their ascension as well, in their soul's journey and education, they become more illuminated. The lower the level of that spirit, the more shadowy they are to me, the more stuck in a loop they are. And that's why you have some mediums that are soul retrievers that can retrieve the soul and almost like wake up the souls on the other side that have put themselves in a self-imposed like limbo or purgatory of their own making and things like that. Um, so this is your canvas. This is your multi-dimensional canvas. And the thing that sets Earth apart from any other world is that here we have the access to the source and celestial lands that otherwise we would have to be dead to access. And the good news is we don't have to be to pull in that heaven here on earth. But blasting through those blocks with maybe money or setbacks, you can redirect that emotion of anger. You can invert it. You can use it to your advantage, like fuel for your engine. And instead of getting stuck in the loops, instead of getting stuck in the mishaps or the people that did you wrong, that did you dirty, myself included, like I've been through a lot with identity theft. But if there's so many dumbasses that are coming for my light and want to own me, then the power of my own choice, the power of my QSIP number, the power of my true sovereign identity is is the magnet. It is the current. It is the power, the leadership, the spiritual endurance needed to blast through any gladiator course they've set out here for us today. So I hope that made sense. I hope my little channeled message gives you inspiration to get creative with a plan, to form that business, to form that LLC, to put away money so you're ready for the call. Um, take what resonates, leave the rest behind. I am not a financial advisor by any means. I'm just a person with a strong spiritual sense of self and a strong intuition, and it's got me thus far. So I'm just sharing. I like to teach yoga classes and dance classes that really am teaching to myself that I wish I could have found, you know, to teach me what I really craved. And so I'm doing the same here. Like, how how can I help someone struggling feel I read so many people that are like, "Yeah, but I can't do this because yada yada yada. Well, I have this illness. I have." They continue to use nomenclature and structures and constructs that keep them imprisoned in such a thought that they can't move forward, that idea is not a realm of possibility. And so make a choice today to flip that coin. Decisive action, a self-belief in the creative genius of you. There's one in all of us. Find that golden egg, hold it tight. And I gotta say, as synchronicity would have it, I've been eating like so many hard boiled eggs a day, just randomly. So my guys are kind of taking the piss out of me too with that one. Any more eggs and you'll turn into one. But they've been so good. I've been craving them. That's another thing, another download. If you've been craving something recently and you don't know why and you feel like you need to restrict yourself, listen to your body. That's also how we heal the inner child. You know, we allow the nudges and the pulls with no rhyme or reason or logic to dictate forward movement because it's going to weave into some type of magic somewhere down the path of your journey. Let's pull a couple more cards and then we'll leave you to it. This is my second new deck, Pop Art Tarot. I really like it. Okay. So I got the card of reunions in reverse. It says, struggling to move on, failing to live in the present, leaving the comfort of a familiar job, staying in a stagnant position, repeating negative patterns, gaining financial independence. I mean, couldn't have pulled a better first card. That's all themes I was talking about. The emotional prison that holds us back from making any moves because we feel like, oh, I can't because of this. Oh, well, what about my job? What about my 401k? What about the stability of, healthcare, health insurance? Well, what kind of sense does it make to work yourself to the bone only to be able to retire and get on meditate and slowly die in a nursing home, right? Like, there needs to be a reframing of the systems financially, medically, healthcare wise, and that's happening right now. This is why you're feeling the constant shifting, that polarity in and out. And the people that are gonna answer the call and find those loopholes and find that sweet spot for ascension are gonna be the ones that trust that they can blast through any illusion that's being spun as 3D absolutes or constructs that cannot be moved. So and they're just illusions. So if you can master going through those doorways that have been designed as just illusions, you can blast through those and rewrite the script in self-belief and self-autonomy, self-sufficiency, then you also break a pattern in your everyday life, but you break out of the prison. Because feeling trapped, restricted, passive passivity in your love life, fear of job-related changes, anxiety about finances, unable to recognize financial opportunities. Yeah. You also need to let up the stress around you. You need to go inward and meditate and slow down a little bit, shut out the noise, constant scrolling, listening to other voices, um, feeling trapped in a relationship. Like all of these things are excuses clients give me to not act on what I'm seeing as the prediction. Well, that can't happen because ABC. Well, that can't happen. I can't leave my job until this. I gotta make this quarter. Time is dependent on you and your ability to evolve, especially in a reading with me. And I think that's what sets me apart is I can see the different timelines. I can also see the different timelines for myself as well. And you will start to see if you don't do shadow work on yourself, you will start to see that the subconscious can take on an entity of all its own as if the devil or an evil person is coming after you. If you don't address it, if you don't acknowledge what those fears and traumas and darkness, if you act like you're just of the light, if you push it and, you know, act like you are just of the light, then the subconscious, just like in the movie Inception, in the dream state, the subconscious will automatically separate itself as a separate entity that's like coming after you, blowing up things, self sabotaging things, because the higher self knows it needs a change. It needs to get the lesson. And the only way to identify or acknowledge it is outside and separate from yourself. So instead of being restricted in a prison of your own making by the entities of your own shadow that you refuse to claim and take accountability for, that's where stagnation lives. That's the environmental needs to maintain stagnation. That's what that is. So, what is the remedy? So good. Perseverance. It's got a jackhammer. That's what I looks like walking around the park the other day. Perseverance. A loyal but sometimes stubborn partner, a steady and secure relationship, gradual progress, dedication to hard work, gradual financial growth, careful management. So I think we all are collectively learning how to be very independent, but also having grace for the need of community and the fellowship of others. Kindness, generosity go hand in hand. Like everything always needs in moderation, right? So, perseverance is going to get you to a position of leadership in your own life, loyalty, if that's what you're also looking for, a steady, slow climb to security, and an ability to spiritually endure, um, blasting through the doors of fear, to having the spiritual eye to discern that it's just an illusion. Let's pull one more. I'm feeling called to pull one more. What's what's the last parting closing message that everyone needs to hear? Defeat and reverse. Healing from past wounds, attempting to rebuild a relationship, transitioning to a new job, finding work that is less stressful, avoiding financial ruin or bankruptcy. Yeah, so you never underestimate the power of like an intervention mid journey, you know. Don't throw in the towel until the final second. You never know when it can turn in your favor. And any progress is progress, right? You have to celebrate the small wins, but you also don't like need to keep getting like you don't need to keep getting on the scale if it's like you're gaining weight and it's like ruins your day every morning you get on the scale, like whether it's with finances, whether it's with the actual scale in the doctor's office, whether it's with results in your job, with hard work and numbers and values. It all starts with emotions connected to thoughts and connected to the action. So do what your personality needs right now to feel safe, secure, grounded in the ability to self-believe in your own creative genius, in your own ability to provide for yourself, to find the tribe you resonate with. Stop people pleasing. That's what I just heard my guide say. Stop, myself included, stop people pleasing. Um, Again, many are chosen, but not all answer the call. I hope this helps. Love and light.